Thank you. Good evening. I wish you told me you were going to say half of the stuff that I was going to say, so we'll make it faster. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be allowed to present a CAEA Award of Distinction to this very worthy recipient. I was not familiar with Lisa Brown or her achievements until I read some background information and her nominator statements. Wow, I had one of those "what have I done with my life" moments when you marvel at the accomplishments of others. Ms. Brown, formerly a psychiatric nurse, is the founder and executive director of Workman Arts, originally known as Workman Theatre, which is affiliated with CAMH, the Queen Street Center for Addiction and Mental Health, and caters specifically to the artistic development of individuals that have personally dealt with or are dealing with addiction and mental health issues. I feel like I'm speaking too fast for these lovely ladies who are. Have we met them, or do we know who they are? Thank you for thank you for doing that. And where was I? For over 25 years, Lisa and her organization have engaged professional theater practitioners to offer theater training to the Workman Arts membership. Workman Arts has produced, as you've heard, 38 original Canadian plays and toured to over 30 theaters in Ontario and Manitoba. Workman Arts also provides training in visual arts, playwriting, video, and film production. Along with these accomplishments, Lisa is also the co-founder of the International Madness in the Arts Festival, as well as the annual Rendezvous with Madness Film Festival. These illustrate Lisa's belief and commitment in the therapeutic power of theater and the arts in general. The Workman Arts Theater Training Program has encouraged many participating members to pursue professional acting and writing careers and enhance their lives immeasurably. Equity member Tony Elwand writes that for survivors of mental illness, Lisa's belief is, in essence, art will set you free. Ms. Brown's nominators state that Lisa Brown personifies the qualities that CAEA embraces and aspires to, and that she is deserving of an award not only because of her contribution to the equity community, but because of her contribution to the community at large. On behalf of the members and staff of CAEA, I would hereby like to present Lisa Brown with the CAEA Award of Distinction.
Well, I can say that I'm not going to be as good as you. I have a script that I'm going to try and follow, which I never do. So hopefully I will tonight. So first of all, thank you very much. I'm truly honored by this recognition of my work and the work of Workman Arts. In fact, I have received, as I've retired as of June 1st last year, and it's when you start to retire, you start to get acknowledged for your work. But I want to say that that when I was thinking about Canadian Actors Equity Association and how important it's been to the Workman Arts project, it was a vital partner back 30 years ago when nobody would talk about mental illness. And what we were doing at the Queen Street Mental Health Centre in the Workman Auditorium was thought by many to be pretty strange, and what was everybody doing? But I wanted to share a couple of anecdotes with you that I think are very important, and important for my growth as a producer and as a creator. When I was at 25, 30, and it was my first play. I was producing, Loy Coots was directing, and we had a whole bunch of people coming in for an audition, and in particular, there was the character of the father in Inner Speak. And I came into the theater, I'm on the stage, and across from me is this man that looks slightly familiar. Remembering I have no formal education in theater. I tried out once in grade 10 and I didn't get the lead, so they offered me the chorus and I said, absolutely not. Which was a stupid thing. And you know, that what I would always say to anybody, chorus is good. But I sat across from this man, and remember, I'm a psych nurse in the Queen Street Mental Health Centre, and he says his name is Denny Doherty. And I think, Denny Doherty's Mamas and the Pops, what are you, like, I want to say, what are you doing here at the Queen Street Mental Health Centre auditioning for our play Inner Speak, which is the first professional show we've done. And I knew that he was getting paid less than $500 a week. I knew that he was working, he'd come to the Queen Street Mental Health Center, and I knew he really wanted this part. And for a good time, I couldn't understand, why does he want to come and work here? And so I finally did ask him, why did you audition? Because he took the part for something at $480. And he said, because my partner, John, has been in and out of psych institutions, and I want to understand what he's experienced. So Denny came into Queen Street, and he hung out in the mall, and he hung out in the front lobby, and he talked with everybody that would talk with him. And it was huge for me, because I finally grasped the reason why he wanted to be there. And it was because he wanted to give back, because he understood how powerful theater was. He wanted to explore through theater some of the stuff that he had been experiencing with John. But 30 years ago, there was serious prejudice and discrimination for people who were dealing with mental health issues. And if you get diagnosed with a mental illness, it's crushing. I mean, it's not fun. And we can romanticize it all we want, but it's a hard go. But I would say that equity provided a framework for me when I didn't know anything. The CTA, brutal, but it gave me a framework, a construct to work within. Because when I started Workman Arts, I started because there was a ton of artists that were staying in Queen Street. I mean, there were pianists, there were singers, there were so many different artists that were sort of there and not doing anything. And we had a 300-seat theater at that time. And people had started to see the work and started to see that, all of a sudden people were energized and they were creating and they were excited to come to the theater. These are the patients. The hospital saw this and they thought, this is great. Why don't you make that a vocational rehab program? And I said, but it's not a vocational rehab program. I mean, we've got a former child prodigy who is playing Thelonious Monk. He is, this is not what we're talking about. Anyway, they tried to convince me to do it, but the guys were going to get 40 cents an hour. And I said, at the time it was $7 or a little less than $7 an hour minimum wage. And equity fought the battle a long time ago. I mean, I was reading up. 1931 is when the American equity came in. 1972, that it became, it was brought here to Canada, and it provided me with a roadmap, and I'm quite serious about this, to create a safe, a respectful, and a professional working condition for our artists who happen to have mental health problems. It was a dream to have equity on side with us, because people would laugh at us. I mean, there was one time that a really well-known Toronto theater critic wrote an article on a play that we were doing. It was the same play that Denny was in, and Ross Manson and a number of other people and our members, and it was a good show. What we see in the front of the entertainment page, it's mental patients and actors put on play. So I get really pissed off about that, and I think, well, I better call up the critic. So I did, and of course, remember, I have no baggage. I'm, a psych nurse. So when I called, I won't tell you who it is. When I called the person, I said, that was really unfair that you wrote that byline. And he said, I didn't write that. He says, the editors do that. And he says, but, what's the problem? And I said, well, mental patients is kind of derogatory in the way that it's presented in the media. And he said, what's wrong with that? That's what they are. So I said pointedly, let me ask you a question. Have you ever received services? Have you ever seen a therapist? And he said, yeah, I have. I said, so there, you're a mental patient. And that was really important because that also helped sort of bring in, a new vocabulary. It brought in a way to think of things. But if I hadn't pushed for the fairness, if I hadn't had equity to provide for me, which I didn't know anything about theater, but equity provided me with this, as I say, with the CTA agreement. I thought Miriam Newhouse was this huge monster. But she wasn't. I mean, she was my mentor really throughout this whole process because I would get it wrong and Miriam say, no, no, you can't do that. It's got to be this way. And then she'd explain why. Why do actors have to have 12 hours in between shows? I mean, I learned something from her. When I met her, I was gobsmacked. Here's this tiny little woman with this huge voice and a huge passion. And I had to, I revere her. I mean, she was something else, and I have to thank her so much for all of the efforts. Because as you guys can remember, 20 years ago, you had to figure out the remittances. And that was a bloody ridiculous formula where you'd have to do, if you're producing, you've got all these mathematical equations and you think you've got it right, you send it in, it's wrong. But it was an excellent opportunity for all of us. I think the idea of respecting artists is something that I respected the people that I work with, and but the whole sort of notion of respect. We have to respect the artists. Now, I'm retired 1 year, and there's a certain individual that works in a big corporation, and when I left, that person got our company to go and do some work curating film programs for a big national thing. They didn't pay a bloody dime for the curatorial process in that. And there's nothing I can do about it. However, what we can continue to do, and what I would like to say, I'm not following my script whatsoever, is that that we have worked really hard 30 years. And now the company is moving into Thunder Bay, North Bay, and St. Catharines. And those are all really tough places to get a viable arts program in, because we go up there and everybody's talking community arts. And it's like, no. I mean, community arts is great, but you want to get these guys at a certain level, and then you want to pay them, and you want to sell their work, you facilitate selling their work, you want to facilitate getting them jobs. And we have 3 new opportunities coming up. And if equity continues to give the same sort of support that they gave me and they gave Workman Arts to grow as we have, there are 3 new cities that desperately need artists, professional artists, equity artists that will come and teach, that will help form a more respectable, a more inclusive, and a place that pays properly. Because we get people try and exploit us all the time, and they exploit people who have mental illness because they're not as strong maybe in that moment. And so you've got so many really talented visual artists, and they're just giving their stuff away for nothing. We have a responsibility to say, your work is good. Your work is just as good as anybody else's work, and you need to be treated the same. And even if your work isn't as good, you have to be treated the same. The actors that we put onto the Independent Theatre Agreement, all the actors, those who are formally trained and those who are great actors, took the chance and went on with non-actors and members. And the result was quite an interesting process in which, I know, are you taking the big hook on me? I'm leaving. I've just lost my thought too. So I'm going to finish up with saying to you guys that although I'm kind of on the outside in that, I've been working on the peripheral of equity and the professional theater community. Well, 2 things. One is I have appreciated the support that we have gotten, and our company's thriving. It's doing really well. I'm retired and happy about that. Kelly Strawn is our new executive director, Kelly has a theater background. Theater's coming back to Workman Arts. We need you guys. We need the people who have the knowledge that can transfer the knowledge you were talking about for the next generation. And to everybody here at Equity and Equity artists and producers and the staff. I mean, I am indebted because I would never have known what to do had I not had Equity, the CTA agreement, Miriam Newhouse, and the plethora of artists that came to work with us, that shared their knowledge, that gave us the bulk, or the actual knowledge that we have today. And I'll end with, one of the differences between a non-equity artist or an equity artist that hasn't had serious mental health problems and people who have and that work with the two groups. A lot of the artists have come back to say one of the coolest things is that the people that I've just been working with, people who have lived with mental illness, they persevere and they know how to cope, and they cope better than perhaps I cope, So the kind of skills that were transferred was not just professional theater, but it was also talking about one's own mental wellness and mental health. So I'll include just an inclusive statement, which would be that when I first started, the objects of incorporations were that we were going to integrate people who receive mental health services with the professional theater community. Well, in 2018, lots of people have mental health problems, and that doesn't fit anymore because we've had so many incredible artists that are living with a particular mental health problem and flourishing. And I think that many of us flourish because in our own direct or indirect ways, we have a body like Equity that can help newbies like me understand how it works and how important it is to respect and to treat the artist as you would want to be treated yourself. So thank you, Equity, for this. Thanks to Tony Elwand and anybody else who might have nominated. And retirement's good on the other side, I should say.
As they said, tonight is the only third and fourth times that this award is being awarded. The first recipients were the Dancer Transition Resource Centre here in Toronto, and 2014 SMARTS, myself along with founder of SMARTS, Winston Morgan, received this award. So I'm here actually on behalf of Winston and myself, because I go nowhere without Winston. It's my honor to introduce the newest recipient of this wonderful award. The AFC has had an enormous impact on the lives of Equity members. They believe that supporting the health and well-being of arts and entertainment professionals, the industry as a whole benefits. In reading the testimonials on their website and speaking with many friends and colleagues who have benefited from this wonderful organization, it strikes me that AFC is more than just a foundation or an organization that gives money to people who are struggling and who are experiencing personal hardship due to injury, illness, or life's curveballs. It gives them hope, dignity, and peace of mind. As Alan said, the AFC began in the 1950s when the Actors Fund of America asked members of Canadian Equity to help them raise funds for their cause. But Jane Mallett had other ideas. She is quoted as saying, "We could better look after those in need in the theatrical profession, either visitors or residents of Canada, if we raised such a fund and administered it ourselves." And in the Canadian way of making an American idea even better, she, along with 4 other actors, Barbara Hamilton, Donald Davis, Barry Morris, and William Needles, they all put a symbolic dollar each in a pot, and the AFC was launched. Now the AFC disperses over $500,000 annually to arts and entertainment professionals working on stage, backstage, in front and behind the camera. In turn, those arts professionals give back through individual donations, but also through fundraising performances. And who here hasn't enjoyed giving a 9th performance during the week? Knowing that all that money goes to help our fellow colleagues. As Carrie Davidson stated in her nomination letter, funding for the AFC has meant that equity members have been able to keep their homes, keep food in the fridge, keep their children safe, and recover from an illness. We all know that the AFC is there for us and our friends and loved ones in times of stress and crisis, regardless of our discipline, region, age, gender, or ancestral background. This year marks the 60th year since the AFC incorporated. They've been a lifeline for so many and have been there in our darkest hours. And so what a pleasure it is for me to introduce David Hope, the Executive Director, and Gerard Roxborough, the Board Chair, and join them in this wondrous, joyous moment. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow honorees, ladies and gentlemen. What a distinguished evening it is for us to be here. It's been a bit of a big day for us. We had our largest fundraising initiative is our Big Swing Golf Tournament, which was this afternoon out in Mississauga, and we had a very successful day. The rain did not hit us, so we're happy about that. I may be a little red in the... However, I'll just jump into my notes here. Thank you so much, Canadian Actors Equity Association, for this great honor. We are grateful to receive the CAE Award of Distinction, and as the volunteer board chair, I am honored to accept this award on behalf of the AFC staff, David Hope, Executive Director, and our Board of Directors. As has been stated, and a lot of you know who we are, the AFC is the lifeline for Canada's entertainment industry. We provide compassionate support to entertainment professionals to help them maintain their health, dignity, and ability to work. As many of you know, a career in this industry can be extremely rewarding, but it can be also extremely challenging. If an individual becomes sick or injured, suffers a personal crisis, there is often no safety net to fall back on, and that's where we, the AFC, come in. For over 6 decades, we've helped actors, makeup artists, people in wardrobe, transportation, construction, set decoration. We've helped screenwriters, musicians, dancers, grips, gaffers, and the list goes on. After 60 years, we can safely say that on every stage and set in this country, there is someone who has been helped by the AFC, and that's a pretty phenomenal statement. The AFC has a strong tradition in theatre. It was, of course, the 5 theatre actors already mentioned, the legendary Jane Mallett, Barbara Hamilton, Donald Davis, Barry Morse, and William Needles, that launched this organization, the Actors Fund of Canada, back in 1958. And we owe an enormous debt of gratitude to these 5 visionary individuals for establishing this vital organization. Over the past few years, the AFC has undergone a period of unprecedented change and growth. We rebranded as the AFC in 2016 to be more representative of the diverse industry and clientele that we serve. Our founding members always meant for this organization to be for anyone, anywhere in Canada who was engaged in the entertainment industry, and our rebranding has enabled us to more accurately represent their vision and the reality of the work that we do. Last year, we launched a financial wellness program to help entertainment industry members build and maintain financial stability. Having provided emergency financial aid to our community for decades, we understand well how difficult it can be to have financial resiliency in your life. We're proud to be able to offer this unique program designed specifically for members of our community. Also, since last year, we've also been introducing social work services for our clients with more complex needs, and we've been seeing a really positive response for those who've received this initial additional help. Our emergency financial aid program is what we are known for, and it remains at the core of what we do. Even as we expand our range of services, demand for this core program is growing. In the last 12 months alone, we have distributed an unprecedented nearly $750,000 worth of aid to entertainment professionals to stay in their homes, put food on the table, and keep the lights on after an unforeseen emergency. We couldn't do this work without the support of the entertainment community, yourselves. Many of you in this room make donations through payroll deductions or to celebrate the opening of a production or that ninth show in the week, and many others have given curtain speeches and performed in benefit performance in support of the AFC. We are truly grateful to all of you for your ongoing support. As we celebrate 60 years of being the lifeline for Canada's entertainment industry, we are looking at even more ways that we can help support the entertainment industry in this great country. We hope you will continue to stay engaged with us, and thank you again for this honor and for your ongoing support of the AFC. Thank you.